This video is just carrying on from the last one that I uploaded ages ago. This video is going to be on examples, just some example solves using 3 pairs. So the scrambles will all be in the description. So this is scramble 1, and we can see there's only this one pair here. Now we can do either a blue block or an orange block with this. The obvious one is the blue block, because we can see that those two are paired up already. So in order to solve this, I would do U, R wide, and then B prime, like that with my index. And that gives us this pair here. Now solve this pair here. There's a couple of things we could do. We could maybe do R2. This isn't a very nice case. So from here, I would then do an R wide prime. So this is now just an F move away, and then I would do U2, R2, F. Another way you can solve this pair after the same square is R prime, U2, R2, U prime, and that pairs these up here, and then F2. Now, there's another way we could solve this square here, which is to do U2, R, B2, and that also solves the square, you'll see. Here is the pair, and we now do R, and this is now just an F2 away, so if you put the corner here, then an F2 will complete the block. So I'm going to go more into this idea of influencing later parts of the block in another video. So for now, don't think about... so here, I did try out a couple of different ways of solving the square. Don't think about this as a way of trying to look for a better block. For now, just use it as an exercise to improve your block building. It can sometimes give you better blocks, of course, and I will be talking about that in a later video, but you also need to be quite good at inspection to be able to really benefit from that. Anyway, I'm also going to see what we can do with this pair here, with the orange block. So again, because we've got this pair here, the best pair to extend this to a square with is this pair. These two tend to give worse solutions overall. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to pair these up while preserving this pair here. So if I do F prime, D prime, then these two get paired up and this stays put. And now I can do an F2, and that will solve this square here. The pair is here and here. So there's a couple of ways that we could pair this up. Again, I'm just thinking about different ways of potentially approaching this pair. So one thing that we could do is hide the corner and then bring the edge over by turning the U layer, and then bring the corner back up again like this. And now we can assert this with either U2 and then a B move, or RY2 prime and then a B move like that. But there's actually another thing that we can do, which is to hide the edge. So if we were to hide, hide this edge like this, for example, then we could bring the corner over, and then when the edge comes back up again, these two pieces are paired up. So for this particular case, from this angle, I think it's best to hide it in the back here. Two reasons for that. One is that we can do it with wide moves. We don't need to use slice moves. And the second thing is that the pieces end up at the back here. So that's quite a nice solution. Now, one final comment about finger tricks, in particular B moves. B moves come up a lot in first block, because you'll be solving pairs at the back here. Now, if you're just starting out with Roux, I think you probably don't want to be focusing too much on finger tricks if you're also learning efficiency. I know some people find they can get overwhelmed if they try to learn too much at once. So if you don't want to focus on finger tricks, that's fine. Just ignore all the comments I make on finger tricks for the rest of this video. But you will need to learn them at some point, and because B moves come up so often, because three pairs is such is a technique that gets used so much. Yeah, any pair in the back will probably have a B move in, so you will need to start practicing them at some point. Is that everything? Yeah, so once you start to get more comfortable with blocks, you might want to come back to this video and other videos in the series and rewatch them and pay more attention to the finger tricks. So on this second scramble, there's actually quite a lot going on. There's a lot of pairs all over the cube. So the only one that has two pairs is the orange block. It's got this pair, and then we could either view this as this pair here or this pair here. So what I'm going to do is an F move here completes this square. So that's treating it as this pair and this pair here. And then for this corner with this edge, I would do R2, and then to insert this edge here, I would do U wide R2, and that puts the edge here, and then U wide prime. I'm going to talk more about tricks to insert single edges or single pieces into blocks in a later video. Now, we can also use this pair for a green block, but if you notice, this is where the edge is, and it's in quite a bad position. There's no nice way of pairing these two up, so I'm not going to check that block any further. What I'm going to do instead is look at this pair, which is the other corner edge pair that we have on the cube. Now, given these two pieces here, we want to pair up the orange and the orange blue here. So I could put this edge in like so. That would be great. But notice how we've now broken up our block here. So for this case, we do actually want to do a CFOP style insert where we do this, and this preserves the corner in the back here and allows us to do a D move to finish. Then here is the other pair, this corner and this edge here. We do an R U prime to pair them up, and then a B2 to insert them. Now, one thing that you're probably wondering is why I'm not going to look at all of the center edge pairs that are on here. This is pair, this is pair, this is pair, this is pair. It's that pair. Okay, there's not really this pair because this isn't useless. This isn't useful for our blocks. And the reason is that they're just a lot harder to find good blocks with because, and okay, I'll start that sentence again. They are not as useful because it's very easy to make pairs of edges and centers. So if you compare that to corner edge pairs, you have to worry about the orientation of the corner and the edge, and they tend to be harder to build, which is why if you have any that are made in inspection, it's better to use those than to use the edge center pairs. That's not to say that you can't always find good good pairs involving those, but yeah, you're generally not going to get as good blocks. The other thing is it's a lot easier to identify one move edge center pairs than it is to identify one move corner edge pairs. So if we look for one move corner edge pairs on this scramble, after quite a while looking around, we might see that these two pair up. Okay, and we could use that in theory. So the edge is down here. So we think about it, this pair and then this pair here. Then here we've used what was essentially a center edge pair. We've now built a corner edge pair to make our complete block, or our square rather, and this is actually quite a good square. And then we can complete the rest of the block easily. So you can find good blocks, but remember that you only have a limited amount of inspection time. So blocks like this are usually going to be harder to find, which is why if I do see a solved corner edge pair in inspection, I will use that instead. This is scramble 3, and there are two pairs on it. There's this pair and this pair. So let's take a look at this pair first. Now to expand this to a full block, we need this edge and this center here. Now we can't just pair them up because that would break up these two. So instead we're going to move them out of the way, and then we can pair those up and then do a UI2, for example. But what we could do instead, which is actually a better square, is to move them out of the way in a more clever way. So rather than with this solution, we have to move them out of the way, then we pair them up, and then we had to line these two pairs up before we inserted. Whereas if we instead did a double move, and I'm doing it from this angle just because I find this easier to perhaps follow. If we use a double move to bring this pair and this pair like to opposite sides of the cube to separate them, then now when we pair these up, they're already lined up, and then we can just do a D2 to finish the square. And then we have these two, and then pair them up with an R2, and then do R wide prime, B prime to complete the square. Block. So now looking at the other pair here, this one, okay, the edge is up here, and there isn't really a very nice way to do this. So if we, for example, pair these two up like this, that works. And then I think the best way of then completing the square from here is to do D prime and then an R wide, and this gets the pair oriented correctly and also keeps it in the D layer. So we can now do a D prime to finish the square. Finally, take a look at this pair here. There's a couple of ways of doing it. I think one thing that a lot of people will do here is R prime UR to pair these up and then insert them. But I actually think a better solution, given that in order to do that, you need to have your hand at this position anyway, right? Because otherwise that's, you couldn't do the B move otherwise. So given that your hand's hit anyway, I think doing two B moves in this situation isn't actually that bad. And I do this as a disjointed double flick. So I do the first one with the index, and then I do the second one with the middle. So this is, I think it's scramble number 4, and there's only one pair, and it's this one. Now we can use this for a red block or a green block. I'm going to look at green block first because we already have this pair here, and these pairs are actually lined up. So we can just do an F2. Now this last pair here isn't a very good case. I would pair them up like that. So they're now in the back, and I would do a B2, and that will solve the block. So the pair wasn't very good, but like who cares when you've got one move square, because the one move square just makes up for it. Now for the red block, we could try to make a long L shape because we've already got this short L, but this edge here is flipped in place, which is not a very good case to get. Now there's two ways of flipping this edge that come to mind. One is F, R wide prime F. And the other way, which is actually very similar, but I don't like the finger tricks as much, it's F prime, R wide, and then F prime. I'm just going to show you the full blocks for both of these cases, just to give you some examples of this type of block. So here, notice how if we do an R2, we can now pair those up like that. And I've made sure to pair them up on this kind of set of two layers so that I can then do that without having to adjust them. On this one here, these are the two pieces, and again, we set them up. So they're now here, and we can now pair them up. Oh, sorry, insert the pair as in the other one. This scramble, which is scramble number 5, has two pairs. There's this pair here, and there's this pair here. So take a look at this pair first. Here is the edge, and here is the corner. There's not really very nice way of doing this. I think I would hold this fixed so that we're now looking to do a D move to finish the block. So I need to insert this edge here. And I would do F prime and then just insert the edge like that. Just like in, I think it was a second scramble, you have to use this C4 style insert to preserve this pair here before doing the D. This pair here now, I personally do this with R, U prime, and then M2, and that pairs these up ready to be inserted, and do a B prime like that. So now let's take a look at this pair. We can do this on red or green. We'll take a look at red first. This and this. So these two together first. I think I'd hold it from this orientation and do a D move as my first move. Here, R prime, B2. Now take a look at this pair here. So we could hide this and then hide the edge, move the corner and bring the edge up again like that before inserting. But I think I mentioned this before, but I really want to emphasize it, is that wide moves tend to be better than slice moves. So in this case here, I would actually do R wide F prime like that. And M prime would have worked as well, but that's my preference. Finally, I'm going to look at this with the green edge, and this isn't a nice case. Generally, when pieces are close together like this, it tends to not be nice. Corners, especially next to edges. So what I would do is to split these up, because you have to split these up. There's no real way of putting that in otherwise, is to do RY2 like this. And now here, this edge, or this corner edge pair is on the U layer, and I can insert it with an F prime like that. After that, the pair, we've got lucky here, and the pair is already formed. So we can do R prime, B2 to finish the block. So this scramble, I think it's currently numbered 13 for some reason. No, it's currently number 12, but yeah, this is scramble number 12 in the video, and this is actually, I'm probably going to move it earlier in the video, in the actual version of the video, because this is quite a basic thing. Now, what I'm actually going to do is ignore all of these pairs are on here, and just look at the orange block with yellow on bottom, because I want to point out an important case, which is when you have a corner or an edge trapped in the wrong slot. Even being trapped in the right slot, but in the wrong orientation is often bad, but in the wrong slot is especially bad. So a very common trick to deal with cases like this is just to do the other pair, and then when we insert that pair, this corner, or alternatively this edge, will be kicked out of this slot here. So these two can be solved with U2, B2. And now after that B2 move, notice how this corner comes out here. And now this here is a much nicer case than it was before. This is scramble number 6. Now there's two pairs. There's this pair here, and there's this pair here. So if we take a look at this pair first, there's a couple of ways of doing this. So I'm just going to hold this fixed. Now, to pair up those, we could do R prime, U, F, and that pairs these up while being lined up for this. And now, what I think is the best way of solving this pair is actually to insert the edge, and then I'm going to insert the corner by doing that. So like a keyhole type thing. Again, I'm going to cover more on inserting single pieces by themselves in later videos. Next video, in fact. Now, there's another way of actually creating this pair here. And I just wanted to show that as well. And that is, we hide the edge here, but we're hiding it while not moving the center. And then if we do a U wide prime and R prime, we then have this pair here. So if you notice how before that, this edge was here, and if we'd been able to move this center around, then it would create the pair. That's exactly what we do here. So this is a back view of that same case. And then here we have this pair here. Now, I think I showed off the back version of this last pair case before. And I suggested doing the equivalent of this. But actually for the front pair, I tend to prefer pairing the pieces up like that and then doing the F prime. But I think that one's really down to personal taste and what your finger tricks are. Anyway, onto this pair here. So again, we can make a green or an orange block with this. Apparently I'm going to do green first. So yeah, it makes sense because this is just a one move pair here. Now, to put this pair into here, into the back slot, if we do an R, just bring it to the U layer, move it over and insert it. This is our edge and this is our corner. So we do an F prime to set them up to here, and then R wide U, R wide prime, F prime. Notice how this first R wide here could have just been an R, because I knew I was going to do an R wide later on. That means I don't have to keep switching my grip between R and R wide. Now with orange, again it's just a D2, and there's two ways of inserting this pair into here. The first way is U2 F prime, and the second way, if I take another cube here, is to do R wide 2 F. Okay, both of them will solve the same block, but they have different effects on the cube. So taking a look at this first one here, I see these two, and okay, so there's a couple of ways of doing this. You could do U, R wide, wait, no, what? Okay, I'll just show you the other solution because I don't know what I've written there. So if I do B prime R, this separates them and gets this ready to be inserted, but it's in a position where I can insert the edge. So the full pair solution would be BR, U prime, M2, and then a B prime like that with my index finger. So for this one, here are my pieces, and I would do an R prime, U, and then I would pair these up like that. Not a very nice block, that one. Scramble number 7 now. This one's very boring scramble. There's only one pair here. So to pair up this edge with this center here, I would do U2. An R move then lines these pairs up, and then a U wide to finishes the square. These, my preferred solution is U prime R, and then B prime, U prime, B. I just want to point out this finger tricks here. So when I have my right thumb on U, and I have this solution here, the other solutions here, I could, if I wanted to, do U R prime and then insert this pair. But if you do the U move with index, and then here, this B move, you can do with index, but I prefer middle, just because my middle finger's there already. I think that's a bit faster, because you don't need to do any kind of free gripping. Your hand is in the right position to do it anyway. So on this scramble, which I can't remember the number, I think it's 8. Yes, it's 8. We only have this one pair here. Now it's not a very good solution with this here. This edge is just in a bad position. So let's look at it. Let's look at this red block here. We've got this short L here, and do an F2 to extend it to a long L. And now we have to pair these up. Now, it's the easy solution here would be to pair them up with an M2 and then insert them like that. But the thing is M2 and R2 and RY2 moves are quite slow, especially if you're in what's called a neutral grip, which is where your right thumb is on F. So instead, if you can spot a solution like this is better. So it can be hard to see because rather than treating one piece as fixed and moving the other piece to there, we're moving both pieces towards a central location. But it's much nicer to actually execute a solution like that. So yeah, it's worth looking out for actually in all block types. This thing where you join two pieces by bringing them to one central location. It's not just a useful thing for 3 pairs because a situation where you need to do double moves to pair up pieces can turn up anywhere. And sometimes a double move will be best. Other times 2 quarter turns will be best. Depends on the scramble really. Scramble number 9. Here there's absolutely no pairs. No corner edge pairs rather. So now we'll look for center edge pairs. So let's look at this one first. Now here we have a corner that's in the wrong slot. So this is probably going to be a bad case, and this edge being flipped in place just reinforces that. So instead, we look at these two. If we do E prime and then R, then these two pieces are now one move away from being paired up. And I need to go in the back slot. I think the best way of doing these is to do F prime, U, and then a B move like that. This and this, how we can do by an R2 to bring this corner into the top layer, and then orange, blue, wide move to pair them up and finish the block like that. Now, so if I'm using a center edge pair as my starting point, I tend to prefer using BL over BL or FL, just because here I have 2 potential ways to extend this, whereas with this pair, I have 2 potential ways to extend it. I could either use it on this block or on this block here, but because they are for different blocks, it's going to take more of my inspection time. So that's why I prefer looking at these. So here, again, we have some pieces twisted and in the wrong slots. So instead, I would do this pair here. Now, one way to do this is to do an F prime. And again, we've now got to the point where the corner and edge are one move away from being paired up, and they're in the top layer. So one way of doing this would be to pair them up and then just insert them like that. Now, this is the edge, and the corner is here. So if we do U prime, R wide prime, I'm just looking at the back here, that pairs them up. And then I can insert them with R wide prime F, like that. There's actually another way of doing this pair though, again with a red block, and that is to pair these up with R, U prime, R prime. But notice that after that, the next move is then an R wide, because R wide B prime is how we insert this pair. So we have from here, we have R prime and an R wide, and they cancel. And actually, if you notice from here, this corner is lined up for us to just insert the edge with an M prime and a B prime. But it might help you to think about that case rather than R U prime, M prime, B prime. It might help you to think about it as pair them up and insert them like that. Anyway, then this and this, F U prime, F2 to complete the block. So this scramble, which is scramble number 10, is an example of a scramble with absolutely no corner edge pairs at all, and no DL plus L pairs either. We just have this one pair here. So as I said before, we can either extend it to a block here, or extend it to a block here. Now sometimes it can be hard immediately telling whether or not this block here is a block with yellow on D, or whether this block here is a block with yellow on D. So what I'd usually do is I look at this sticker and what it's like compared to this center. So in this particular case, because these are opposites, it means that when I start holding the cube with white on D, this is actually the block with yellow on D, because this is opposite this, so actually these are going to be opposite as well. Similarly here, where I appear to have yellow on D, this is actually the position of the edge of the block that has white on D. So that's just a little tip if you're having trouble remembering which block you're actually doing. So let's take a look at this block with white on D first. So I need to pair up these and get them into D layer. So what I would do actually is R wide 2 to bring this edge into the back here, and then I would pair them up with U2R. This brings up pieces to here. Now just do a single D move to finish. Here, this I think the best solution would be UR F U F prime. I said the best solution. That's a lie. That's one solution. I don't know if I'm going to include this solution in this video or in the single piece video, but another way of solving this pair is to do R wide F prime and then UI prime R U wide. So we insert the edge like this, and then this happens to be a nice case like that. Now let's take a look at the other block, which is the one with yellow on D. Now here, notice that the corner is just a D2 away. So if we could somehow insert the yellow-blue edge into this position here, then we'd get a really easy square. So what we can do is break up the D2 into two single moves, and in the middle of that kind of double move, single move thing, we insert the other piece. I'll show you what I mean, because this is a thing that actually comes up quite a lot. So here, if I do 1D prime, I can now insert this edge into here. I take it out first with R prime UR, and then I do an M move like that. And then from here, I can then finish the block like that. What actually happens to be nicer though, is if we do the D moves in the other direction. So if I do a clockwise D move, this is now just a simple R wide prime U prime R wide insert. So just to show that from the back, here's the corner. This is actually the bottom face, and this is the back face. We do R prime or R wide prime, U prime, R wide, and that pairs these pieces up like that. That's a very common trick and very useful. Finally, we have these. A couple of ways of doing this, but I usually do this solution here to pair them up, and then a B2 to finish. Last scramble. Thank God, I'm so bored of this. So, this is an example of a scramble where there's absolutely nothing. No pairs, except for this pair, which is not at all useful to us. So, an important thing you need to know is if you don't have anywhere to look at to start, what can you look at to start? And the answer is one move pairs is a very easy thing to look for. So, for example, this edge and this center here comes together like that. Now, there's, like I said previously, center edge pairs are much easier to see than corner edge pairs. Apparently there is a corner edge pair or two. Which one was I going to look at? Blue, red, yellow. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, so here's an example of a one move corner edge pair. And yeah, so I'm going to go through this first, but generally I would actually take a center edge pair. So for this one, if we think that's one of our pairs, then, sorry about this. Okay, let's hold it like this. Okay, yeah, so I'm going to hold it with this edge here fixed. So then it's a D move to pair up the pieces. Alternatively, I could have held it like this, and then a U wide move to pair them up. Doesn't really matter. It'll leave your hands in roughly the same position. Now I want to pair up this with this, which I can do like that. And then from here, I can then do either an S prime or an F wide prime. Personally, because I can see that these two pieces are here, I know the next move I'm going to do is a U2. So I'd rather use my right hand. If I'm using my right hand, then the S prime is definitely easier than the F wide prime. So I'm a U2 because I wanted to do these, and this is the same case as earlier in the video. I would do it like that. Now let's take a look at some of the center edge pairs. So green and white. Again, we could do a D or U wide move. I'm just going to do it like that to show you. This here is in the wrong slot. So I'm going to do the green red pair first. Now, actually one thing that I should have perhaps shown is that here we want to pair these up, right? Notice how before the D move, this edge seems to be in the wrong orientation to pair up like that, right? But after the D move, suddenly this corner and edge are in the right orientation to be paired up. So that's a common thing that will come up, and it's good to know, is that you can use a D move to change how a corner and edge are oriented in relation to each other. It doesn't change the edge's orientation, but because it changes the corner's position, it suddenly means that you can actually pair them up easily. So yeah, that's good to know. Anyway, I'm not actually going to pair them up because once I have a corner and an edge that are one move away from being paired up on the U layer, I typically just go straight to inserting it. So because I see that after this U prime, this is now just one move away from inserting this corner. So I can do that. This corner, here's the edge, and this is F prime, sorry, F, M prime, F to finish. Also there is this and this here. So this here doesn't look great. But notice after the D move, this here is trapped in place. So I'm going to be doing this pair anyway. Now here, notice that this corner here is one move away from being inserted. So I just want to insert this edge into here. F, and then M. Like that. And then a B prime. You might actually find it easier to hold the cube in this orientation. And do the entire thing as an F move and then U, M, D prime, and then rotate. Typically, if you're just starting out, I would avoid rotating where possible, and I would just try to keep this edge in the bottom left at all times. Well, after you've done the first D move, that is. But yeah, just it's a bit like using F moves in second block, really. I think it's best if you're just starting out to not use them, because if you start using them right from the get-go, you don't really get good understanding of when is a good time and when is not a good time to use them. But once you start to get a bit more experience, then you can start implementing them into your solves, but with precaution. Anyway, here are the last two pieces. Pair them up like that, and then insert them. So that's all for this video. Yeah, I really hope this is the longest video in the series.